How do you actually change a belief that you don't want, that isn't serving you? I am all about helping you unlearn myths about sex and intimacy and relationships that aren't serving you. But that's way easier said than done, right? For example, let's say you look in the mirror and you think, ugh, you look terrible today. Or you're talking to your partner about something they desire and you think to yourself, that is disgusting. Why would you want that? Or maybe you're walking down the street and you see someone who is conventionally unattractive and you notice yourself having the story, that person's ugly. You're having these feelings, these thoughts, these stories, but you don't want to be having them anymore. So what do? How do you actually unlearn a belief that isn't serving you? Step 1, the most important thing is to not judge yourself or to not judge the thought. So for instance, if you're having a story, a thought, a belief that you wish wasn't there, if you say to yourself, ugh, how could you? Why do you believe that? What the heck's wrong with you? Being mean to yourself is not going to change that thought or that story. In fact, it's going to make you more likely to never want to address your uncomfortable feelings or stories, right? Because it's so painful when you're mean to yourself that you kind of just want to push it to the side and not think about it. Step 2 for unlearning a belief that isn't serving you is to of course yourself. What that means is you say, of course you feel that way. Of course you look in the mirror and think, ugh, you look terrible, because you live in a culture that tells you you're unattractive and you need to buy more stuff in order to be whole, right? If you look at your partner and think, ugh, why do you desire that? Why do you want that? That's disgusting. You would say, of course you feel that way because we live in a sex-shamey culture. So it makes a lot of sense why that belief is ingrained in you. Or with the last example, if you're walking down the street and you see someone who's unattractive and you think, God, they're ugly, you would say, of course you're having that thought or that perspective because that's a deeply ingrained cultural belief that certain body types or certain people are more physically attractive than others. Step 3 for unlearning a belief you don't want anymore is to tell yourself the story that you want your brain to be having, even if you don't believe it yet. Our brains actually create neural pathways with our thoughts. The more you think a thought, it becomes a groove in your brain, kind of like a river carving a path through a canyon. If you want to create a new canyon or pathway in your brain, you need to start thinking a new thought. And over time, your brain will start to believe it because your thoughts will start to go down that neural pathway that you've created with ease and without you having to think about it. But the first step is to tell yourself that story that you want to believe, even if you don't believe it yet. Perhaps you look at yourself in the mirror and you think to yourself, I see a person who is worthy of love. Perhaps you look at your partner and think, I see a person who desires what they desire, and that's beautiful, and that's okay. Or maybe as you're walking down the street and you see that conventionally unattractive person, you say to yourself, I see a person worthy of compassion and love and respect and pleasure. So once we tell ourselves these stories that we want to believe, we will start to automatically go into those places, into those stories with time. So what's the story that you want to unlearn right now? And what's the story you want to start telling yourself? Think about something that's causing you suffering within yourself or in your relationship, or perhaps with the people around you. Is there a myth that you've been holding on to that if you were able to let go of it, you would find more happiness in yourself and in your relationships? If you want to do exercises like this and meet other people on a journey of growth and deepening in intimacy in their relationships or with themselves, join the new Love with Janelle community. The link is down below. I would love to have you be a part of this to help change the world one person at a time, beginning with you and with your loved ones.